Warning: the following podcast contains violent scenes that may be unsettling to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Changing the Lost Vanity. Vanity is a first edition Chronicles of Darkness game set in southern Florida during the year 1993. Follow Katrina, played by Tillman, Raymond, played by Chris, Isabel, played by Andrew, Frank, played by Slavic, and Adam as the storyteller, as they uncover the mysteries of the true Fae and forge new paths for themselves in a world of beauty and madness. Follow us on Twitter at twin_cities_VTM for channel updates, and we hope you enjoy this episode. Hello everyone, welcome to the character creation session for Changeling the Lost Vanity, which is a game that Adam is going to be running. So I'm going to hand this over to Adam, and he's going to steer the ship. Adam, it's all yours.
All right, what's up, guys? This is going to be Changeling the Lost Vanity. It's a first edition Changeling the Lost game. It's going to be set in 1993, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So to get started, we'll just start introducing the characters here. We have Andrew, who's going to be playing Isabel Mariana Martinez, the fairest succubus. We have Tillman, who's going to be playing Katrina Lake, the fairest dancer. Raymond, played by Christopher, who is a darkling mirror skin. And Frank, played by Slavic, who is a ogre gargantuan. So to kick it off, we'll just go through and each person can kind of describe their character in a like the mortal side of their character first. So why don't we start with we'll start with Slavic here, since this is the sheet that I have open. And so just tell me a little bit about Frank. Who was Frank before his durance? What was his life, and what kind of person was he?
Well, in life, he lived a pretty simple life. The problem is, he lived a pretty simple life somewhere during the 14th century in medieval England. So he was a shepherd who still lived with his family in a multi-generational house. And, he was just a simple shepherd, and he was a bit slow. His family sort of accepted it. He could still do his work on the farm. And so one day he was sort of, with his sheep on, with his sheep herd, and a sheep got lost. He went to look for it, and when he went looking for it, he sort of, went too far somewhere into the dark woods, and he went across into the hedge. And yeah, that's how he became a changeling.
All right, awesome. I love it. So did he have any family or anything, or was he just kind of like a lonely shepherd out there in this land?
Yeah, like I said, multi-generational house. He had a family and stuff. How it was, 3 generations living in a single sort of house. Also farmhands there, whatever.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And what does he look like as a regular guy?
Okay, so he's really tall. After he became a changeling, even his normal appearance became even taller, but he was still over 6 feet tall, and now he's over 7 feet tall. He weighs over 200 pounds in, freedom units. He looks 45, but in reality he's 35, but he lived a pretty harsh life. He has black hair, green eyes, and that pale English skin.
And how old is he? I should have asked you that before.
35.
Okay,
he
cool.
looks 45.
All right, awesome. Anything else you want to add about his just regular human side?
Yeah. For now, I want him. He already lives in the modern day. Sort of, he lives there for 5 years, let's say. And, so he already understands sort of modern day stuff a bit. He's still a bit shocked by it, and he's not the smartest guy, so his I guess friends or whatever from the summer court got him a job at a warehouse, and they're just a simple job, and yeah, that's it, I guess.
Awesome, dude. All right, love it. All right, next, let's do Andrew.
Okay.
All right.
My character was actually born under a different name. She goes by Isabel Martinez now, but whenever she was born, she actually had the reverse. It was Mariana Isabella Martinez. And she was born during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Her parents were actually trying to move into the United States before that happened, and that delayed it. And she was actually born there in Cuba. And eventually they were able to secure passage into the United States illegally. And she was raised there for most of her life. They left everything behind in order to get to, out of Cuba at that time. It was a pretty bad place to be. And they wanted something better for her. So she grew up in Florida, in the Miami area. This is her home. That's why she moved back here after everything that happened. Her father was really into muscle cars, American muscle cars, and he had an auto shop. And so and that's kind of what he did before they moved. So he was able to build up a place for them in America, and and eventually, become citizens. And she grew up just with a normal American life. Around 12, she went through puberty and started getting a lot of unwanted attention from males. She was a very attractive young lady. And about 14 years old is whenever she was taken by a fae into the she was more like kidnapped rather than just wandered into it. She just was deliberately stolen.
Okay. So before she was taken, what were the relationships that she had? Did she have any friends? Just her parents, family?
Yeah, she had friends and stuff. She was a kid in school. She was 14. She was just about to go into high school. She's in, she had some friends. She had her parents, and there was no other family in the U.S. that they had. It was just them. So it was most of her connections were through friends she made at school.
Okay, cool, awesome. What does she look like?
Now or
like before she was taken?
Well, she's when she was only 14 when she was taken. So she's changed a lot in that time, but she was, like I said, she was one of those early bloomers, and so she looked much older than she was and had a lot of unwanted male attention. Very attractive, dark hair, dark eyes, Spanish descent.
Okay, cool, awesome. I forget what else I was going to ask. Oh, is there anything else you want to add about the mortal side of your character? It's cool if you pretty much covered it.
No, I think that's everything from before.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's move on to Tillman. Describe Katrina for me. Her mortal self.
Katrina Lake. She looks very Eastern European, let's say. So she has very pale skin, and her natural hair color was blonde. Nowadays it's red, like an unnatural red dye. She's about 23 years old right now. She was taken when she was around 20. And basically her mortal backstory is she grew up daughter of a Ukrainian immigrant who to marry an American and therefore stay permanently in the US. And very early on, her mother taught her dancing, or basically forced her to dance. Her original plan was to get her daughter into ballet and, well, more classical dancing, but Katrina then changed to Latin dancing. And after school, she basically started working at the dance school she's already been going to for years. And her real plan is becoming a professional show dancer, so on tournaments around the world. But, well, she makes a basic income teaching dancing to, teenagers.
What kind of relationships does she have in the dance center that she worked at? How is she received there? Does she have a lot of friends there? Is she respected there?
Yeah, she's definitely respected as, well, one of the team. She spends almost 24 hours a day there and 7 days a week because, well, it's a job with bad working hours. Like, your work is always when other people have free time, so you can teach them. And you have to stay up very late because there are dance evenings. You have to, supervise and whatnot. And also she has to do her training for her tournaments. So that's another part. And she is always on the go to, go to a tournament, whatever. And I'd say she has very little contacts outside of her dance school. Basically her family, but that's it. And obviously her dance partner. I don't have a name for him right now.
We can definitely come up with that. I have a feeling that relationship is gonna play an important role in the story. So I definitely kind of want to get into that. Brian, of course.
Perfect.
Awesome. And what does Katrina look like?
As I said, she has very pale skin, red long hair, and she has a really good figure, let's say. She's a little short, but she's very athletic, not muscular, but you know that she's a dancer. Like, she's doing sports every day.
What does she dress like?
Most of the time she dresses quite casual, like for training and whatnot. Like when she walks around town, she dresses in jeans, t-shirt, whatever. For tournaments, she goes all out. Like, she has a whole set of tournament clothing, really quite intricate dresses with all kinds of extras she added herself.
Very nice. And did you want to add anything else about Katrina?
Let's see. I don't think so. No.
All right. Awesome.
I think that was it.
Good stuff, dude. All right, Chris, tell us about Raymond.
Yeah, Raymond Zeller was born in 1948. His father, he was born in the Everglades of Florida. His father was a World War II vet who was deep into alcoholism, basically worked shitty menial jobs and would beat his mother and kind of be harsh on his kids. He ended up, he was poor white trash growing up, in the Everglades area. And he ended up realizing at an early age that he was kind of different than the other kids around him in the fact that, he took to reading and he took to school, where most kids were either dropping out of school, in the 50s to get jobs to help support their families, or, just weren't genetically inclined to make much sense of what was being taught in school. But he kind of realized that he was different. He got made fun of somewhat, but it was even more determination and drive for him to eventually get scholarships, to where he eventually went to college and then to medical school. At this time, when he started going to school, he realized even though he was educated, he was socially awkward around these people that, went to these state colleges or medical schools that he went to, where, he could, recite with them, whatever, they needed to know. But when it came to knowing how to dress normally or personal hygiene or even, behavior like that, he wasn't too keen on. So he felt he was kind of an outcast, which in a way kind of drove him to, at that time in the late 60s, early 70s, to cosmetic surgery. Like he graduated, he ended up moving to the Miami area. He realized he was good with cosmetic surgery. He started making money. He got his teeth fixed, his teeth capped and bleached. You know what I mean? His skin that was once oily, you know what I mean? He started taking care of. He started getting haircuts, started fitting in. And along with that, he ended up getting a trophy wife, at that time, who he ended up having a daughter with. 70s. But soon he found out that pretty much that like his trophy wife was exactly that, just a trophy wife. And he started realizing that like his work and everything that he was doing to raise in social status somewhat didn't seem as important once his daughter was born. That seemed, you know what I mean? He started realizing that his daughter was something special to him because she was born in a normal life and had a normal opportunity not to have to make up for all the, like he had to make up for all his inadequacies growing up. So, eventually, and you can stop me if you got any questions during this, but eventually he, I don't know if we can go into this later, but he, walked into his wife having an affair on him. He kind of had an idea that she was having an affair. He kind of had an idea in the back of his head his wife might be having an affair on him. His daughter was 5 at the time. He'd been married for about 10 years. But he never really like tried to like find out what she did until one day he came home earlier from his private practice that he had, which was successful, and he walked in on her having an affair with someone, like in the middle of having sex with someone in his bedroom. And in an act of passion, he grabbed a gun from the drawer and he shot both of them, and while they were in bed there, and killed them. We can go into how further up to like when he was kidnapped or whatever. But I can do that now if you want to, or we can wait till later. It's your call.
Yeah, we'll stop there for that story, but we're definitely gonna get more into that.
Yeah, delve into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what he looks like, he basically he's about 5'11", 5'10", very average looking, but at that time.
Did you say that he had like cosmetic work done to himself, or is it just,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He would have had cosmetic work done to himself, like to hide either acne scars or to fix like a nose, you know what I mean, that he felt was like, or especially his teeth, because he had really bad teeth, you know what I mean, just because of like a lack of personal hygiene. Maybe I don't know. I mean, like he's not, after he came back, he's not as vain, but back then he was really just trying to fit in, so like he had blonde hair that was parted and cut nice. And at that time he'd wear like, kind of like, business casual type clothing, like khaki pants and like a Armani shirt, or you know what I mean, something to that extent, but to not like New York business stock, exchange, wearing a full 3-piece suit, but he'd wear like nice business casual because it's Florida, and Florida's a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And stuff
kind of
like
hot
that.
to wear like full suits all the time.
Yeah. Definitely.
But he dresses like sharp though. He's like, if people saw him, they would definitely say like, that's like a successful man, like, All right, very cool.
Back then he definitely did. Yeah.
What else was I gonna ask? Let me see. I think you covered pretty much everything I was gonna ask. Let me just let me see. So like, what were his relationships at his practice like?
Pretty straightforward. Like he had a couple people who were probably working underneath him. He treated them all with respect. In a way, he was almost like he wasn't, his outer image wasn't like backed up by his attitude. You know what I mean? Like he was still like he was somewhat a little bit shy at the time. You know what I mean? He wasn't as aggressive as a lot of people who came from wealth. You know what I mean? How like he was not one of those people who would talk down to like quote unquote the help. You know what I mean? Like customer service people, he'd always be polite to and nice, where he'd see his peers like get angry at the country club if like their Arnold Palmer didn't come, quick enough. And he was never like that. So he didn't have the attitude to match the image. For him, the image was just for him trying to fit in. So he had good relationships with the people he worked for,
And it's like his practice, right? Like it's
yeah.
Okay.
That's the whole reason he got his wife, because he had like a successful practice in Miami, and shit like that. Yeah.
All right, cool. Anything else you want to add about Raymond Zeller?
No, not until we go into after they become changelings. But yeah, that was pretty much his life. His
Good
life was
shit.
fake. Yep.
All right, and I think, yeah, why don't we just go right into that next? Because I think you guys pretty much covered all the mortal backstory stuff. So let's start back with Slavic again. And Slavic, describe to me the situation in which Frank was taken by the True Fae. What was that like? What did it look like?
Yeah, so like I said, he basically he basically went deep into a forest and couldn't find his sheep. And he went deeper and deeper, and it got darker, and then I changed, and the next thing he knew, he got into Arcadia. That's the name for it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And there he saw a massive flock of sheep tended by the biggest person sort of he ever saw. And this giant or this fae noticed him, and it got an idea. It took him under its wing, sort of, or made him its servant, and made him sort of take care of the huge flock that he had. And he was beaten often for things he didn't understand, because he didn't understand what the fae was talking about. The fae was talking to him in a strange language he at first didn't understand. And only after a while did the words from the fae sort of start to make sense. It was pretty different from the language he was used to. And yeah, do you also want the story of how he got back into the real world, or this world? Yes.
Yeah, but before that, tell me. I know you kind of already touched upon like all this stuff, but what was his keeper like? What did he like? What did he look like?
Yeah, basically, he was this giant of a man, muscly, with a huge beard, and basically a giant.
Okay. All right. And so, all right, yeah. So let's get into that. How'd you get out of there?
Well, in a way, it was the same way he got in. A sheep got lost. He went after it, and he sort of got through. Got through the hedge that way. He saw it running through the hedge, and he went after it, and even after the cuts and stuff and it ripping into his soul, he still went after it, because he knew that he'd probably be beaten within an inch of his life if it got lost.
Awesome. And so how long did this whole imprisonment last?
Well, from his perspective, it'd be like a couple of years most. Like maybe 2 or something, but in the real world, or in our world, it's kind of several hundred years have passed.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And so what happened to him when he popped out of the hedge into Fort Lauderdale, I'm imagining?
Yeah. So first he thought he was in a different part of Arcadia. He saw cars, people speaking in the strange language that his fake keeper talked to him, and he got arrested, as the police thought he was an escaped mental patient who thought he was a shepherd from England. And a couple of local summer court changelings noticed this and thought it was weird, so they decided to check it out. And they actually realized that he's also a changeling, so they sort of got him out of there and took him under his wing and tried to explain everything about the modern world and what happened to him, how time flows differently, and all these things,
Awesome. So is his like relation and like allegiance to the summer court just kind of out of
it's definitely a sort of loyalty thing that he feels he owes them, and
they helped him, so he's with them, right?
Exactly.
Cool.
He isn't
Awesome.
particularly like angry or aggressive person, even though, he's very physically strong, very physically fit. And that's why they also want to, keep him, because he sort of embodies some of those ideals that they have of, being able to fight, but he's not all there, like, philosophically speaking.
Okay, awesome. And let's see. All right, so where is Frank at now? What's his life like now? How is he kind of adjusted with this new condition and this strange place?
Like I said, he works a warehouse job, and he has like a 1-room apartment or something like that where he sort of lives. I think he has a small dog, like that, he just
awesome.
needs to have an animal or something to pet. And, he has this tiny little dog because a bigger dog wouldn't fit in his apartment. So he has like a pug. It's hilarious when he takes him for a walk, and, he has that giant of a man and this tiny dog just walking there.
Wow. All right. That's awesome. It's a good image. Does he have any like strong mortal connections now that he's been back, or is it pretty much just his
no,
his
definitely
summer court
not.
buddies?
He's not the smartest guy, and he's still sometimes, he's sometimes still a little bit strange to outsiders, non-changeling people that don't understand that, he's literally been, went through time almost in a way.
What does Frank want? Is he trying to?
He definitely wants to protect like his friends and his like the court members and stuff. But what he really wants is probably to save enough money to get a herd of sheep and live out somewhere in the country. But he doesn't know how to sort of organize this.
Awesome. So like his like biggest desire is probably just to get back to
it's just a simple life.
Exactly. Awesome.
He doesn't have to deal with all these complicated things, all these, fear that the Fae could hunt him at any moment, stuff like that.
All right. All right, so that's all great. So Andrew, aka Isabel Mariana Martinez, what was your durance like? What was the situation that in which that happened?
It was a very dramatic shift from her life before. She was, just a kid in school, and she had this teacher that was just the type, the really creepy kind of like he's looking at you in ways that shouldn't be looking at you kind of ways, and just kind of lured her away from people. It made some thing up like, oh, you have bad grades or something, and we need to have a thing after school, and kind of tricked her into following him into the hedge. And only after the fact did it reveal itself to be like this thing, this changeling, or not changeling, this true fae, this satyr, this monster that kidnaps young women and keeps them as these just slaves. And so her life just did a complete 180. She went from having just a normal childhood to suddenly she's having to learn how to please and just fit in with all this harem of young girls that have been taken, and having to deal with the politics of all this hierarchy they have built, living under this thing that just goes out and abducts young girls. And so she kind of started adapting to her situation and getting stronger for it. She started using subterfuge and misdirection and just underhanded tactics to try and just build like this power structure under herself. And over time, she became basically the top girl. here she is, this sex slave that's been stolen away, and she has learned to put herself in a position of power where she was at. But over time, he kind of just lost interest in her. She's getting older. She's not just a young girl anymore. She's aging and getting to like her 20s in appearance wise. And just this disgusting thing doesn't have any interest in her anymore after that. And so she just like decided that she was going to leave because she didn't want to be like cast aside, you know? There's this weird kind of situation where she was like, she felt attached to the Fae, but also didn't want to be totally rejected by it and would rather take this like out of like trying to get away. And so she fled and made it back through the hedge, just barely, you know, just completely lost, and found that a lot more time had passed than what she thought. You know, here she was in her mid-20s, and now it's the 90s, you know? So much time had passed. She was 14 when she left. She's only aged about like 7-8 years, you know? And now it's more that she's also a little bit of a fish out, not quite as much as what Slavic was saying, not even close, but like, you know, this is a little bit further ahead than what she thought she was going to be, and found that in her absence, like, her family moved on without her. They didn't know that she was even gone. She had this thing taking her place, looking like her, growing up and living her life. The fetch that her whole life was stolen from her. And so whenever she found some other changelings, she was able to get some help in creating a new identity. And that's when she decided that she'd take up the name Isabel Mariana Martinez. She didn't want to completely abandon everything she was. She still wanted to maintain like some kind of like she stayed in around her hometown. She stayed close by. She's able to go and see like her family now, but they don't know who she is. You know, she's a much younger version of herself. So if they did ever meet her in person, they would think, you know, oh wow, did you have a kid and not tell us? Like, you know, it's one of those things where she's there's no way she could return back to her family, you know, so she's trying to forge a new life now.
So would you say that she kind of watches them from afar?
Occasionally, yeah. It's like one of those things where it's like whenever she gets in a situation where she's just like starting to kind of get too much pressure and having to deal with all of the abuse because it was abuse that she went through, you know, it's a really good way to go and find like a solid rock, something that she can, you know, see, people that she can connect to, even if she's just observing them, and just like remember, like, no, this is who I am, and I can be strong.
Awesome, dude. And so like, how does she view her fetch? Does it look like her family kind of has just accepted the fetch as her? Is it, you know, what are her feelings towards seeing this inhuman thing that's kind of just living your life for you?
At first she was a little bit more than just, she was like pissed off and jealous, you know, at first. But then she came to realize, like, you know, there's nothing that she can do about it anyway, you know? See, she can't take that life back. And that's why, you know, like I said, she wanted to move forward with a new identity, and have like, she got some help from like the summer court to just forge a new identity, to be someone new and move forward. She's not trying to look back. She wants to advance and build up that kind of like power base that she had before, you know, manipulating other people to just, you know, serve her desires.
Right. And how did she kind of fall into the summer court? Does she connect with the ideals of the court, or is it just kind of the group that she fell in with?
It's the ones who reached out to help her whenever she was in. And so she just feels allegiance to them because of that. You know, like they helped her, and now she's got to help them back. You know, she doesn't have strong ties to them. I didn't take any like merits or anything, but she is officially part of the summer court.
Very good. Let me see. what are her mortal connections now that she's back in the mundane world? Does she have a job? Does she have any friends that are
Yeah, she's
people?
now she's a real estate agent. You know, the real estate business is growing in Florida at this time. She's really good at convincing people, especially men, to do what she wants and to spend money where they probably shouldn't, and to invest in things that they shouldn't. So she takes advantage of people by just trying to build up personal wealth through real estate. And so she has, like, there's a company she works for, and she has a boss, and she has, you know, these connections, but she doesn't have any sort of like real deep human connections, because she tries to keep everyone kind of at a distance, you know, even when it's like a completely totally like personal contact like sleeping with someone, she still keeps those people at a distance, because for her, sex is just a tool, you know? And so, like, she doesn't actually form bonds with other people very easily. She's learned that through all the abuse that she had, that she has to keep everyone at bay, because if you don't, you know, you're just going to end up hurt. They're just going to take advantage of you. So she does have some connections to people, but they're not really solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's good shit, dude. What's like her biggest goal? What does she want the most out of this new life that she has?
Well, she just wants to try and move past everything that happened to her. She wants to try and like it still kind of haunts her that like all of this happened to her, and now she's gone, and she has to make this new life. And so she's just her ultimate goal is to just somehow find peace with herself. And so she does things like, she has a pretty active nightlife, going to the club scene, and just occasionally does some drugs and hooks up with people, just trying to just party and forget about everything.
Awesome. All right, that's good stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so. I think I covered everything.
All right, awesome. Yeah, that was pretty detailed. These are like awesome concepts, by the way, you guys. These are, so far, I'm just like seriously loving it. Like, I couldn't have came up with anything better. It's just amazing.
That's awesome.
All right. So Tillman, let's get into Katrina's experience with the True Fae.
Right. So I forgot to mention earlier, she grew up in Lauderdale, and around when she was 20, she one night had one of her dance tournaments. It went mediocre, not quite as well as she wanted. So she was in her dress room and basically was the last one there. And abruptly, like a small, I wrote Igor-like figure, like a hunchback with really bad skin, crooked teeth, grabbed her through the locker and dragged her basically through the wall that no longer was a wall, through the hedge into Arcadia. And there she got to meet two keepers. They are your evil stepmother type. Two females, one really tall, stern-looking, but not sternly dressed, actually really extravagant. The other one also extravagantly dressed, but really obese and full of weird makeup, almost like a clown. And they basically treated her like a decorative pet. So they the plan was to show her around like a poodle who can jump through hoops and has painted fur and whatnot. So the first thing they had to do to her was like mold her into shape. So they stretched her legs to make them look unnaturally long and beautiful. They put her in a corset and did all kinds of things to her face to make her eyes bigger and more pointed and whatnot. Colored her skin and her hair. Obviously, the hair stuck around. So now, as well as a human, she still appears to have a permanent unnatural red dye. but her skin thankfully remains pale. And well, basically, then for what seemed like another 20 years, she was this pet that was shown around. And one day she managed to, run away while she was waiting for her act behind the curtain, and her two keepers were distracted, and managed to get back into Lauderdale, thankfully. And 10 years had passed. So now it's around 1990. And I guess the Autumn Court, helped her out. So that's the court she ended up with. And she managed well to adapt to the new times, because, not much time had really passed. So she learned how to use computers, and she managed to find a job at a different dancing school, and she even managed to find a new dance partner. But so far she has some trust issues and anxiety to meet her family or some of her old co-workers and her old dance partner. I haven't decided whether there was a fetch in her place. That's something we can talk about.
Yeah. Do you want to leave it for now? Like, maybe Katrina doesn't know.
I think that's a good concept.
Okay, cool. And so has she kind of looked into see what her family's been doing, or has she just totally avoided that?
I'd say she has totally avoided it out of fear, basically. Like, she can't really grasp what has happened. Like, her wish is to make it all go away, but obviously that doesn't work. So she knows the second best thing is to start new with a new identity, but I made that step yet. And in a way, the Autumn Court can maybe help her, but I'd say they can also really abuse her, being the Autumn Court.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's awesome.
Can I ask some real quick? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
When you say they can abuse her because of the Autumn Court, what do you mean by that?
I'm thinking about the fleeting autumn contract, which she also has, where you can instill fear in other people. And I'd say she's pretty easily abused by that. Well, the Autumn Court is like the only place of trust for her right now. She'll probably rely on them pretty heavily. So if they want something, she's probably willing to do it.
Okay, cool. I was just curious what you meant. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does Katrina want the most out of life right now?
As I said, her biggest wish is to make it all not happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. So she's looking for some stability, but she doesn't know where to find it. So she really wants to pursue her dancing career again, because that has been the constant in her previous life, and maybe find some confidence to confront her family, even though she doesn't know how to, and build a new living.
Very good. Anything else you want to add? I think that's pretty much it from me. I think you covered most of it.
She has a very small apartment, like a one-room apartment.
Right.
And she has a little bit of income due to her new dancing teacher job, but she doesn't have a car, for example, so she really doesn't have much money.
Okay. All right. Does she know anybody in her apartment building, and what are her relationships at her current studio like?
She managed to find a new dance partner, as I said.
Yep.
I have a second dot in friend, but I think that just means it's a good friend.
Is it a really good friend, or does that mean you have two friends?
Yeah, that's what I don't remember, but I think it means it's a good friend, someone she can rely on. And yeah, of course, she knows some of her co-workers, not as well as the ones from the previous dance school, because she's only been there for maybe like a year. And she has one contact, like a costume designer. And I'd say they're probably fairly close, at least on the dancing show business level.
Awesome. All right. Everybody loves Raymond.
Yeah, right. You'd say almost too much after I describe what happens to him, but So, I kind of mentioned in passing basically about how, like, in 1977, he came home one day during the day to this like nice house he had in Miami or whatever. And he noticed his housekeeper was gone, and usually he thought his housekeeper would come during the day. And then he steps into the foyer and he hears like throughout the house the sounds of his wife having sex with someone, and he basically finds himself just like the frustrations of like the rejection of his parents and who he grew up in, and then trying to fit in, and then having this wife and who he knows probably has never loved him ever, you know what I mean? And just all like just accumulated, and he found himself seeing red, where pretty much he ran up the stairs, opened the door, and pretty much was just like went straight, saw his wife in the middle of having sex with a stranger. He doesn't know who the guy is, and just reached into this drawer where he knew he had a gun, and a pistol, and he shot both of them. And like before, like even like the smell of gunpowder disappeared, he realized like as soon as he saw them both lying in bed there that yeah, he shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? And it went from being like this instantaneous like rage and this outlet of all that anger to like panic. And he was somehow like in a moment like able to like think clearly enough to like call back to his practice and tell his secretary to have someone pick up his daughter from school. And when he did that, he realized he had like this motivation to make this go away because of his daughter. You know what I mean? And he started thinking to himself, well, if I can make these bodies disappear, I can make like just say that my wife ran off because she was never happy with me. You know what I mean? And it could just be him and his daughter. He could raise his daughter, and maybe he even started like motivating himself to the fact that like he could maybe quit working in the industry and just like, you know what I mean, focus on his daughter, and they can move, or you know what I mean, something to that extent. So he like due to like the rather large house and the privacy that entails, he was able to get these two bodies in sheets, you know, barely able to get them down the steps, you know what I mean, into the trunk of his BMW, go upstairs, start cleaning frantically, changing sheets, you know what I mean, doing the best he can, which spent, you know, because the person he worked with, he told her like to keep his daughter at her house until he came back and got her, you know. And so it was starting to get evening time when it was happening, get dark, and it started raining, and he's in this BMW, and he knows that the only place, you know, that he could probably drop these bodies off and where they would really disappear from good from when he was growing up and everything was like the swamps, you know, that like if he could get the bodies to the swamps, and probably, you know, gators or something, you know what I mean, would get rid of them eventually, or they decompose and not be found. So he, and he's still, mind you, when I say like he's like able to think clearly, I mean, he's still like panicking in a way, you know what I mean? Like what man rationally is going to be thinking, you know what I mean?
He's still like totally distraught about like what he did, right?
What he did, yeah, exactly. And he's just like sweaty palms, you know what I mean? Heart rate's still up, all that shit. So he drives to like these swamps that he's aware of, you know, an area from when he was a child, and he's like dragging these like trying to drag the body of his wife first, because he can't do both, you know what I mean, the bodies, to take to deep enough into the swamps where he feels he can drop the body, you know, throw the body into some body of water. And eventually, while he's doing that, he finds himself getting deeper and deeper into the swamps and more lost, you know what I mean? And eventually, the terrain changes, and he it starts getting more panicked, and he doesn't know where he's at, and he leaves like his wife's body around. He tries to find himself more and more, and he's getting cut up by like, you know what I mean, the wildlife and the vegetation, and eventually he sees he's like knocked out, and he, you know, when he thinks he sees like a shadowy figure ahead of him, and next thing you know, he like there's a blow upside his head, and he's knocked unconscious to awaken only to what like I can call like and I don't mean to be funny with this, but like a horrible Nine Inch Nails video gone bad, you know what I mean? Like he basically is severely physically and severely sexually abused for he doesn't know how much time has gone by. Like what I literally mean is like he's literally in a room where like it's a painted black wall. He believes it's just a room, you know what I mean, where anytime he wakes up there's new instruments in there, or there's a new figure. Like he's never like known like the true of his captor, you know what I mean? Like it could be because it was like there was multiple people, multiple things going in there doing things to him, and literally there was no dialogue between him and anything. You know what I mean? And for a while he felt like, when it first started happening, he felt like he was in hell, like he must have died somehow, and like this is punishment for him killing his wife and everything like that. And he like has this weird sense of like what is happening to him is deserved. And then after a while, who knows, like I say, because it's almost like sensory deprivation in a way for him. Like he doesn't know how much time has gone by, but after a while, all these acts, he starts taking retreat within himself. You know what I mean? He starts like almost like not even aware what's going on with him physically. Like he delves deeper into his mind and he starts realizing that there's like this, there's two feelings that were going on in his head when he was kidnapped. Still the remnants of the anger from when he killed his wife and the panic and depression of what he did. And those are like the only two things going on. And like that depression, like he deserves all this that's happening to him was like the largest feeling, but within there, like a seed was that anger. You know what I mean? That seeing red. And that started the more he dug into himself and the more he dug into himself while this fucking horrendous shit was going on to him. That anger, that little flame started coming out more and more. And like he was like throwing tinder on it. You know what I mean? Throwing little wood and more stuff that could catch on fire. Till eventually, like, just he snapped in the middle of doing it to him. I don't know if he killed whatever was doing it to him, or if he, you know what I mean? They were so used to this subversive thing, or if he was let go, who knows? But he was able to escape and run naked through pitch darkness. You know what I mean? Like all this was pitch darkness. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no like Arcadia. Arcadia to him, like I said, was almost like a sensory deprivation in a fucked up way. Eventually, he came back to Fort Lauderdale. He came into Fort Lauderdale, and it was 10 years later. It was 1987 or 1990. I was thinking because it was 1990 when he came back, and he was taken in by the Autumn Court. I haven't really thought of like, you know what I mean, how that came about or anything to that extent.
That's all right. We can talk about that like specifically later. But
Yeah.
so far, keep going.
But eventually he was able to get a new identity in Fort Lauderdale, where he has like a house that's on like the beach, because Fort Lauderdale has a beach, right? Yeah, like on the beach.
Oh yeah.
And we're a smaller house, and he has a smaller practice, a way small practice, basically catered to middle class mothers, soccer moms who think that like they need some kind of like, whatever, nip tuck. And but first of all, he's totally asexual now. Like he completely, any kind of like pleasure from anything physical or anything like that is never going to be in his life again. Like he's not attracted to anything. He's not like anything like that, just from like the extreme, you know what I mean? Physical, sexual, abuse that occurred to him. Like it's just him and his thoughts pretty much. He has respect in the Autumn Court. Like the Autumn Court respects him because he has a scholarly mind. You know what I mean? He basically went to medical school and like that. He has taken what he's learned about all this stuff and he's trying to ingest it. But one thing that he does, like if he's not like obviously sitting by himself, because he likes to read and he likes to sit by himself and look at the beach, because he finds it to be calming, because he feels like it's infinite and it's for real. You know what I mean? Unlike where he came from. You know what I mean? He can see it. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. Like the sound of the ocean really calms him, hearing the waves crash. But when he's doing his business as a plastic surgeon, and he does all these things for these middle class mothers and fathers, especially the mothers, he always tries to leave some little, like a little trait that his wife had. You know what I mean? Like a little part of like her nose, or because he did surgery on his wife, you know what I mean? Or like her chin, as a way of like, he did do her, because he does feel guilt. Like he shouldn't have killed her. He felt like he should just given her money and she could have left with this guy, you know what I mean? And he could have raised his daughter, He looked in the newspaper, he found out that like what do you call it when like they're replaced?
Your fetch?
Yeah, his fetch is in prison, doing life in prison for the murder, because they found the body in a car. The body's with the fetch. He got pulled over. He's in prison. He has no idea where his daughter's at. His daughter's lost in the system. He hasn't really tried to look because he's afraid to find out. You know what I mean? But the anger, and this is one thing I want to explore to you, and we'll talk about the dots later on, but I'll explain his appearance first. His appearance, because like they have appearance, and for everyone watching, I'm like new to Changeling. They have an appearance that mortals see, right? And then they have an appearance
Yeah.
like the other Fae see, right?
So you have your mask, which is
Yeah,
basically what like the regular people on the street see when they look at you,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it doesn't necessarily have to be the same way that you looked before you were
yeah,
taken by the true Fae. It could be different now, but it's basically just the way that you look as a person. And then you have
yeah.
your
So
mean, I think it's the way it's pronounced, which is the way that your new changeling self kind of manifests itself. Through your like seeming and
yeah,
your kith.
exactly. And that's so like his mask is like similar to when he left, but like he's aged 10 years. You know what I mean? He has like bags under his eyes. He looks real somber and like melancholy. You know what I mean? And he's like not like he's kind of an introvert in a way. You know what I mean? When people see him, he like will wear khakis and like polo shirts, but not as expensive as before, and like brown loafers. You know what I mean?
He's
He's not
toned it
trying to
down
dress.
a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. He looks like a middle-aged guy. You know what I mean? To be
Mm-hmm.
frank, he looks like a 40-year-old dude. He has blonde hair, kind of a receding hairline. You know what I mean? And but he's slender. You know, still. But his meme is like one of like he looks almost like is man. I should pull that book. I want to show that cover that I had. You know what I mean? But I should describe it. He his he looks like almost like a shadow, but like you can see like but lighter, like a grayer tone shadow, and his eyes, like his eye sockets, you can't make out his eyes, you know what I mean? But you can see like the shadows of his eye socket and the shadow of his mouth, you know what I mean, and like the form of his face, you know what I'm saying? But like not specific details. So he has like this real eerie, you know what I mean, presence when he's around people, like he's shapeless. But one thing that and this will tie into the thing I wanted to bring up is when he's his anger, because he still has that anger that's like really boiling within him. You know what I mean? His tone will change, almost like if he was naked, it would start from this. It would start from like the center and spread out, but like you could see it creeping up on his hands or creeping up on his neck, like almost like a rash. You know what I mean? It'll be like reddish, pinkish. You know what I mean? That will start coming up, orangish. You know, and to show that his mood's changing and not a lot of people have seen it, but people who have dealt with him, you know what I mean? Especially the summer court, because he's a part of the autumn court though, but the summer court knows that he has that in him because he has a summer court goodwill of 4. And not like the story we're talking about, you know, before about like how he got that goodwill, Wayne, where basically like, what did you call them? The changelings who kind of are working spine for the Fae?
Oh, so loyalists. Oh, okay. So loyalists, and those would be changelings who have kind of like secretly or openly aligned with the true Fae. They're kind of like the traitors of changeling society.
So basically, my character, like, because I don't want to use the term like he's stealthy, like he's some rogue, you know what I mean, like doing traps or whatever, but because like he wants to be the gray man. That's literally what he is. There's a term like be the gray man, be someone that people don't notice. And that's his survival instinct, right? He doesn't want to be noticed. He felt like, you know what I mean? Like what got him being noticed. So with him being the gray man, he's able to be more observant, and he pieced together that someone was a loyalist. And like a fit of rage, like of anger, he like tracked this guy, went to this guy's house and literally just like went berserk, murdered on this person. You know what I mean? It wasn't planned. It wasn't calculated. It was almost like how he killed his wife. But instead of using a gun, he just like bashed his head in with like a paperweight or, you know what I mean? Or some shit, the first thing he could found, and just like murdered this dude. And Patrick Bateman style, not like Patrick Bateman style, but it was more like out of anger, you know, just like covered in blood and just sitting there. And someone from the summer court who's probably watching this loyalist, you know what I mean, sees my character go up the stairs at first, like, oh, is this guy a traitor too? And then hears all this bashing and screaming, and then comes in, and my guy's just like got blood splattered all over him. There's blood splattered on the wall. And he goes through this phase where like anger boils, he explodes, and then he goes down, and he's like super introvert, you know what I mean? And he wants to be left alone, and he just wants to sit in his house, you know? So, sit and not be bothered and stare at the beach. So if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I love that, you kind of like came up with this story, because I think it really is going to like tie into how the summer court, would really respect an act like that. That's like totally what they're about, is just protecting and, strength and stuff like that. And they would have, they would have absolutely noticed, regardless of what your actual court was, that is just, that's the summer way of doing things. So that's awesome.
Basically I want to, Yeah, I hope my pen, by the way, I was clicking my pen. I'm putting my pen back over there. I hope it wasn't like going over what I said. I don't want to, but I want it to be where like most people would be like, look at that pushover. He doesn't do shit. And a couple are be like, oh no, dude. You know what I mean? Like I heard about, you know what I mean? Like,
there's a few who know. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So,
and then I was going to ask you, has Raymond like told any of like the changelings that he knows about, you know, his story pretty much about what he did or what's happened to him, or is that something that he keeps secret?
I would think that like for the most part, he's kept it secret, but I would think that I could see him telling like one person from the Autumn Court or whatever, you know what I mean, when they were first trying to introduce him, and then I could see like in that fit of like just whatever emotions that he was overcame with after he killed that loyalist, whatever Summer Court changeling went upstairs and found him there, you know what I mean? Like him just like spilling it all out to the guy, you know what I'm saying? So like I'd say probably two people know, you know what I mean? But not that yeah, exactly. So
all right, awesome. And by the way, I totally like forgot to ask you guys like what your mean and mask are. We'll just like we'll catch that when we go over the stats and stuff. So
okay.
Think about that. Let me see. What's Raymond's goal?
Man, like so if you were to ask him, like he probably wouldn't have an answer, but as his player, because he's like I would say if he didn't have that anger in him, he'd be dead because he would have probably taken his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he would be suicidal. But the only thing that like suicidal is he wants to see like all Fae dead. Like you know what I mean? And I'm like almost like he doesn't know the true form of the Fae that kidnapped him. It could have been like different, you know, like different things that were like doing this shit to him, or it could have been the same, taking different form. So he has this fear, like he would never recognize the person who kidnapped him. You know what I mean? And so, to him, the best way to get revenge is to see fucking true Fae just dead. You know what I mean? And so I would say that's his goal. But in the back of his head, though, there's a guilt too about his daughter, you know what I mean, which we can explore. But it's like he doesn't want his daughter to see him this way, and he, like I said, he's afraid almost of like what happened to her. You know what I mean? He's afraid almost to like find out the truth, because knowing that if it's bad, it's his fault. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Like he probably deep down would want to reconnect, but doesn't know if that's even a thing he can do now. But also, it's like, you know, he'd have to find out, like, you know, what's happened to her along the way, and that could potentially be some bad shit. And like, so we're gonna go into the dots and stuff like that. I just wanted to bring up, you have like 3 in occult knowledge for Fae, so you probably have like a pretty good understanding of like you know, about like what they are and like how they operate and stuff like that. So I really think that like fits with your MO of just like you just like hate them and you want them all like dead or whatever. I think that's really cool.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add? That was awesome, by the way.
Oh no, thank you. No, that's about it. I think for now, that's what I can think of.
Hello, folks. Have you ever wished you could have an easy way to find gameplay videos and podcasts, or just media in general that deals with your favorite White Wolf role-playing games? Or have you ever wished you could find a forum to share gameplay that you have recorded, one which wouldn't be drowned out by random posts and discussion, so that your media could get the attention you want? Well, we have the answer for you in a Facebook group we run called White Wolf RPGs Gameplay and Media. The group is specifically ran with the sole intent of it being a one-stop shop for people to view or share media involving the games we all love. We take thorough steps to ensure the page does not become cluttered and is easy to traverse. We are currently over 1,000 members strong, and we are continuing to rapidly grow, with new media being shared every day. Stop on by. We hope to see you there. High Level Games, the industry's first choice in taking your games to the next level. We are a podcast blog and new media network at highlevelgames.ca, We have blog posts about all of your favorite games going up 5 days a week, and a podcasting network with actual plays and shows that discuss role-playing games, with more rolling out all the time. We are on iTunes, Twitch, and YouTube. Find out more information at highlevelgames.ca, a site that certainly isn't controlled by a shadowy board of directors of otherworldly origin. That's highlevelgames.ca.
Please, help. They're coming.
The mission seems simple enough, don't they always? Simple sweep and flush out operation. We loaded them up in a hazmat tanker in Montreal and shipped them to a downtown warehouse in the Valley of the Sun. They would have been in and out in a few nights. Well, we wouldn't be telling the story if it all went as planned, would we?
I go ahead and I pop Wyatt.
Alright, yeah, I'm gonna run at him and do a sweet spin kick and knock his head off.
We're waiting to see whether or not the abomination kills us.
Shufflehead Chronicles is available on the Critical Hints feed. Search for Critical Hints in iTunes, Google Play, or any other podcatcher.
I don't think this is how. No.
The Los Angeles metropolitan area is constantly growing and changing. The Central District is full of new buildings. The Hollywood and Wilshire districts, once far from downtown, now are part of a which spreads past Beverly Hills and out to the ocean. But why is all this going on in Los Angeles? Why is Los Angeles an exploding city?
Neon Masquerade.
The Demon's Mirror.
13 Candles.
3 Chronicles running through the undead veins of the City of Angels.
The Esoteric Order of Roleplayers Actual Play Podcast invites you to drink deeply.
Go to eorpodcast.com and search the Duets tag to find out more.
Hi guys, I wanted to let you know about my YouTube channel, the video journals of Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey is a character I play in a live-action vampire game called New England Nightmares, which uses the new By Night Studio rules for Mind's Eye Theatre. The Chronicle's set in the city of New Haven, Connecticut, and we run on the third Saturday of every month in Southington, Connecticut. Most of the credit for the stories told in my journals comes from the plots developed by the amazing storytellers who run my game. So the videos on my channel are basically an in-character video logs of the newly sired Ventrue Mike Bailey. They follow him from his days as a naive mortal to his violent embrace during the Anarch Revolt in the City of London and on to his arrival on the shores of New Haven. The journals show Mike trying to come to terms with his kindred nature, his powerful but impure blood, and his attempts to hide his past from other members of the court of Prince Lucius. So I put out updates every 2 weeks, and I love feedback and questions, so check out my channel, subscribe, and leave me a comment.